name's John Cordy and I went to the jazz doctor. He diagnosed me with a jazz rash and he said, your jazz is gash. Anyway, that was a little poem just off the top of my head, do you know what I mean? What was I going to talk about? So today I wanted to talk about why you might want to check out some sax players in terms of what they practice in general and how that can help us on guitar. I think one of the fashionable things to say as a guitarist is that you don't listen to other guitarists. Whatever, I do, but there's some stuff we can learn from sax players. So here's the kind of first kind of thing, and maybe this is something you might hear a piano player playing as well, but one of the things that we practice a lot of as guitarists, or I personally did, would be things that move linearly, and you maybe might do some string skipping stuff. But it doesn't necessarily have much of a pattern in terms of sounding like something particularly musical. So here's the very first thing that I think sounds like the sort of thing that you might hear a sax player practicing. Not that. So what's actually going on there? We're in C major. I'm starting on the 7th degree B, jumping up to the D, then back down to the C, the root, then down to the A, then down to the G. And that's the pattern. So you could call that a sequence or a pattern, you can call it whatever you like, but I think it's quite musical sounding. Whatever, I ran out of space. Anyway, it's got lots of different ways that it might fall on the fretboard. So something that I found early when I was experimenting with this was you could do it in this kind of 3-note per string way. No. So like that. So I think that looks interesting, as well as presenting like an interesting conundrum where you're moving up but also falling in pitch. So that's something I'm going to do a bit more of and experiment with those fingerings. But all I'm doing here is moving this pattern around the C major shapes diatonically. And what I'll do is I'll write out these in all of the C major positions in a couple of fingerings, I guess. Well, I'll write it all out in the most logical one first, and then a couple of these ones that move, because I think they present quite an interesting challenge. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about was Chad LB's, he's a sax player, but he's got a really cool lesson on enclosures, and he's got 15 exercises that are written out on sax, and he's got a book. But I actually tabbed these out a couple of years ago, so I wanted to just put that up for people who wanted to check that out. But that was me translating some of his sax enclosure exercises to a fretboard so that I could get something out of it. And I'm going to go back over those and sort of revisit those, but they were doing this kind of thing. So super useful in terms of jazzy stuff which has got some kind of chromatic movement and all that sort of stuff. So again, there's 15 of those to check out. The other thing about guitar is obviously there's many ways to play the same note, and so we end up having more issues, I guess, in the sax player, but kind of negotiating those issues is what makes guitar the guitar, I guess. So these kind of things are the exercises that I want to practice more of. So that's why I'm making this video and reminding myself of these little things that I could practice. You could also take that basic shape through like the melodic minor scale, so I'm going to choose to do it through the E, well, F melodic minor or E altered. No. That kind of thing. Once you're comfortable with the pattern with the major scale, yeah, check it out with the melodic minor. That kind of thing. I think that'd be sort of helpful. So what I'm going to do is, up on my Patreon, I'm going to write out this first. Sequence, or however you want to resolve it. So it's worth practicing those resolutions in each of the positions, so there'll be, you know, 7 of those. Not like that. And then what I'll also do is put a few up in melodic minor things to give the idea of what I think those will give you some sense of what that might sound like in a melodic minor context. That might be a useful one as well, actually. And I'll just put aside to that the Chad LB enclosures that I thought were useful, that I transcribed out for guitar. Thank you for stopping by. If that was at all useful, you could consider liking and subscribing. That's some of the saxophone kind of wisdom that I think works nicely on guitar. This way of practicing scales, which isn't just straight up and down, but practicing patterns. You'll probably have seen more often than not this kind of thing. Which is also a thing that sax players practice arpeggios through the scale, but these kind of melodic fragments I think are worth practicing too. So thank you for stopping by, and I'll catch you in another video soon. Cheers!